Hello, good morning, and welcome back to today's second online class in the subject Corporate Finance. This is Dr. Mahesh M. Onjeri, Assistant Professor from Department of Management Studies, SDM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. Okay. So, in the first session, we learned about what is leverage. Okay. Then we are now learning the types of leverages. So the first one was operating leverage, okay, which is determined by the relationship between sales revenues and earnings before interest and taxes. Okay. So now we are going to make a beginning to learn. Okay, second type of leverage, which is financial leverage. So please recall, operating leverage is associated with investment activities of a firm, whereas financial leverage is associated with financing activities of the firm. Financing activities means raising capital. Okay. So now financial leverage. So financial leverage relates to the financing activities of the firm, means related to raising capital for the purpose of investment. The sources from which funds can be raised by the firm can be categorized into the sources from which funds can be raised by the firm can be categorized into broadly classified into two groups. One is those sources of finance which carry a fixed financial charge. Examples: term loans, interest on loan, bonds, interest on bonds, debentures, interest on bonds, preference shares, preference dividend. They all carry a fixed financial charge for the company. Every year, okay, the company has to pay interest on debt. Every year, the company has to pay dividend on preference shares. So this is mandatory. So hence, these are called as, and the rate of interest or the rate of preference dividend is also determined in the beginning itself. Okay. So according to which the company continues to pay interest on debt or preference dividend as per the predetermined rate. So hence they carry a fixed financial charge. In the second category of financial sources, which does not involve any fixed charge, the company can also raise capital from equity by way of issuing equity shares. So as I mentioned, there is no fixed rate of dividend on equity shares. Okay, also it is not mandatory to pay dividend every year. Okay, so capital raised from by way of issue of equity shares does not involve any fixed charge. Same way, retained earnings. So once we understand this basic, it will help us further understand what is the financial leverage. The firm is under obligation to pay interest on first type of sources of funds before tax. That is this financial sources that carry a fixed financial charge like term loan, bonds, debentures, and preference shares. Then taxes are deducted from earnings before interest and taxes. Preference dividend is then paid. So you need to remember these steps. Okay, so these steps we are going to use. Okay, in EBIT EPS analysis. Okay, where we evaluate alternative financing plans. Okay, and we choose the best financing plan that can maximize shareholder wealth. Okay, so then taxes are deducted from earnings before interest and taxes. Then out of that earnings after taxes, preference dividend is paid first from the earnings after interest and taxes. The equity shareholders are entitled to the remainder of the operating profit. So these are the steps you should remember. Financial leverage results from the presence of fixed financial charges in firm's income stream. Okay, so here we are talking about the sources of finance that carry a fixed charges like interest on debt or dividend on preference shares. Financial leverage is concerned with the effects of changes in EBIT on the earnings available to equity shareholders. earnings available to equity shareholders is called as EPS, that is earning per share. So financial leverage is determined by the relationship between EBIT and EPS. So financial leverage is concerned with the effects of changes in EBIT on the earnings available to equity shareholders when the EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes, increase and when it decreases. So what effect it is going to have, what change it is going to bring on the earning per share. It is defined as ability of a firm. Okay, financial leverage is defined as ability of a firm to use fixed financial charges to magnify the effects of changes in EBIT. Okay, the way we learned in operating leverage, a small change in sales revenue leads to a far greater change in EBIT. Similarly, financial leverage is the ability of a firm to use fixed financial charges, that is debt capital, to magnify the effects of changes in EBIT on the earnings per share. So when the company uses sources of finance that carry a fixed financial charges, how a change in EBIT, okay, magnifies the change in earnings per share. Means the change in earnings per share will be more than that of the change in EBIT. Okay, the procedure is same, but the concept is different. Favorable leverage occurs when the firm earns more on the assets purchased with funds than their fixed cost. See, whatever assets have been purchased or whatever investment is made in long-term capital projects from the funds borrowed from the debt capital or from the preference capital, okay, when the firm earns more on the assets purchased with the funds like debt fund and preference fund than their fixed cost, interest on debt and dividend on preference capital, favorable leverage occurs. Unfavorable leverage occurs when the firm does not earn as much as the funds cost. Okay, so if the firm, the revenues are insufficient to pay interest on debt, the revenues are insufficient to pay dividend on preference capital, we say unfavorable leverage occurs. Okay, the difference between earnings from the assets and the fixed cost, simple it is, earnings from the investment in capital projects or earnings from the investment in assets, okay, from the borrowed funds. The difference between earnings from the assets and the fixed cost on the use of funds goes to the equity shareholders. In a way, use of fixed interest sources of funds provides increased return on equity investment without requirement of additional funds from the equity shareholders. Okay. So I mentioned it, doing business with your own money or doing business with some other's money. So where it is more profitable. So that is what is explained here. In a way, use of fixed interest sources of funds like debt capital and preference dividend provides increased return on equity investment to equity shareholders without requirement of additional funds from the equity shareholders. When earnings are adequate, means sales revenues are when earnings are not adequate, means when sales revenues are not adequate, presence of fixed charges will imply that equity shareholders will have to bear the burden. Okay, so when the earnings are inadequate or not sufficient, okay, first preference will be for paying interest on debt to debenture holders. Second preference will be payment of dividend on preference shares. So in that case, equity shareholders may not get the dividend or they may get very little dividend. Thus, the leverage will operate in the opposite direction such that earnings per share will actually fall as a result of the use of funds carrying fixed cost. So financial leverage is also a dual-edged sword. Okay, it is good as long as the company's earnings are adequate. It is bad for the company when the earnings are not adequate. So then we need some metric to measure the financial leverage of a firm, for which we are using alternative definition of financial leverage. The procedure outlined above is merely indicative of the presence or absence of financial leverage. So, what procedure we followed? We can only make out, okay, whether leverage exists or not. But financial leverage can be more precisely expressed in terms of degree of financial leverage. So, degree of financial leverage is denoted by DFL, capital DFL can be calculated by equation 18.3. DFL is equal to percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBIT. EPS is earning per share. Okay. Okay, there is the alternative equation also. DFL is equal to EBIT all divided by EBIT minus I stands for interest on debt, minus DP, DP stands for preference dividend, divided by into bracket 1 minus small t stands for tax. Okay, so then I will pause here. If you have any small queries at this level, very small, okay, please ask. After which I am going to solve a illustration or a numerical on financial leverage. Okay, any questions from students? Yes, any questions? Okay, Vaishnavi, any questions? Okay, it looks like students do not have questions, but anyway, still if you have any doubt, you can ask after the illustration. So I'm going to mute you all again. Okay. So illustration, or you can also call it a numerical problem on calculating financial leverage. So it's not only an illustration or numerical, it actually helps you to understand the concept of financial leverage. Same way as in case of operating leverage. So please pay attention. Financial example 18.4 from textbook. Financial manager of hypothetical company limited expects that its EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes, in the current year would amount to 10,000 rupees. Okay, that is the base level. The firm has 5% bonds aggregating to 40,000 rupees, while 10% preference shares amount to 20,000 rupees. These are different sources of finance, and both are category 1. Financial sources carrying fixed financial cost. What would be the earning per share? It is asked. Assuming the EBIT being 6,000 and 14,000. Okay, the base level EBIT is 10,000. So case 1, increase in EBIT by 4,000, so it amounts to 14,000 rupees. Case 2, decrease in EBIT by 4,000, which amounts to 6,000 rupees. So what is asked? What would be the earnings per share assuming the EBIT being 6,000 and 14,000? How would the EPS be affected? The firm can be assumed to be in 35% tax bracket. The number of outstanding ordinary shares means the number of equity shares are 1,000. Okay, so given this data, let us go ahead and learn about financial leverage. So you would require to prepare a table like this. EPS, earnings per share, for various EBIT levels, earnings before interest and taxes. Okay, so base level EBIT is 10,000 rupees. Case 1, where the there is increase in EBIT 14,000 rupees, and case 2 where there is a decrease in EBIT 6,000 rupees. So if you can calculate the percentage change, in case 2 it is a minus 40%, from 10,000 to 6,000 it is a minus 40%, and in case 1 it is increase plus 40%. Okay, from 10,000 to 14,000 rupees. So you need to calculate this percentage increase and percentage decrease in EBIT. Then we'll follow the procedure which we discussed in PowerPoint slides. So less interest on bonds. So we said first priority is always for interest on debenture, interest on loan, interest on bonds, etc. So 5% bond. Okay, so you need to know the amount of bonds. The firm has 5% bonds aggregating to 40,000 rupees. So 5% of 40,000 rupees. How much? 2,000 rupees. So 5% of 40,000 rupees is 2,000 rupees. So first we need to deduct interest on bonds at 5%, which is 2,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees and 2,000 rupees. Then what we get? 6,000 minus 2,000, 4,000 is EBT, earnings before taxes in case 2. 10,000 minus 2,000 is equal to 8,000 rupees, earnings before taxes at base level. 14,000 minus 2,000 is equal to 12,000 is the earnings before taxes in case 1. So next procedure, in the next step in the procedure, less taxes. Taxes are at 35%. So 35% of 4,000 is 1,400. 35% of 8,000 is 2,800. 35% of 12,000 is 4,200. So what we get is earnings after taxes. So 4,000 minus 1,400 is equal to 2,600 is the earnings after taxes in case 2. 8,000 minus 2,800 is equal to 5,200 is the earnings after taxes in the base level. 12,000 minus 4,200 is equal to 7,800 are the earnings after taxes in case 1. Okay, then, so once taxes are deducted, okay, next preference is for preference shareholders. So preference dividend has to be paid out of earnings after taxes, because preference dividend is not tax deductible. Okay, so we'll find out what is the amount of preference capital. So please remember, 10% preference shares amount to 20,000 rupees. So the company has to pay 10% dividend on preference share capital of 20,000 rupees. So 10% of 20,000 is 2,000 rupees. So less preference dividend at 10%. 10% of 20,000 rupees is 2,000 rupees. So once we deduct, what we get is earnings available to equity shareholders. So 2,600 minus 2,000 is equal to 600 rupees. Earnings available to equity shareholders in case 2. 5,200 minus 2,000 is equal to 3,200 rupees. Earnings available to equity shareholders at base level. 7,800 minus 2,000 rupees is equal to 5,800 is earnings available to equity shareholders in case 1. Okay, so how we can find out earnings per share? To divide the earnings divided by number of equity shares. So it is given in the problem. The number of outstanding ordinary shares is 1,000. Ordinary share means equity shares. Even if they simply give a number of outstanding shares, it means number of equity shares only. Okay. So earnings divided by number of equity shares 1,000. So 600 divided by 1,000 is equal to 0.6. This is the earning per share in case 2. Then earnings 3,200 divided by number of equity shares. So 3,200 divided by 1,000 equity shares is equal to 3.2 is the earning per share at base level. So 5,000 is the earnings, 5,800, sorry, 5,800 earnings divided by number of equity shares is equal to 5.8 is the earning per share in case 1. Okay, so EPS, this is nothing but EPS. So from base level, in case 1, EPS increased from 3.2 to 5.8. So the percentage increase, if I calculate, it is 81.25%. Same way, the EPS is 3.2% at base level. From base level of 3.2%, sorry, 3.2, it has decreased to 0.6. So the percentage decrease in EPS is minus 81.25%. It's not exactly minus 81. So we just write it so that students can understand. We can always say the decrease in earning per share is 81.25%. This way. Okay. So for those who do not understood how we calculated this 81.25%, you can see here. Okay. So for the difference, okay, so that difference between 3.2 and 0.6 is 2.6, or the difference between 5.8 and 3.2 is 2.6. So the change in EPS is 2.6 in both the directions, one into a positive, one negative. So if I consider 1 at 3.2, okay, if the EPS has increased, okay, from 3.2 to 2.6, how much in, how much for 100? So 100 into 2.6 divided by 3.2. Simple calculation. So once you simplify, the answer will be 81.25%. Okay. So now let us interpret the results. So in case 1, a 40% increase in EBIT. Okay, see case 1, a 40% increase in EBIT from 10,000 to 14,000. Okay, so case 1, a 40% increase in EBIT from 10,000 to 14,000 results in 81.25% increase in EPS. That is from 3.2 to 5.8. Okay. So the increase in earning per share is far greater than the increase in EBIT of 40%. That is what we call it as a magnifying effect. So please understand. Okay. Case 2. Okay, this is case 2. A 40% decrease in EBIT from 10,000 to 6,000 rupees. So a 40% decrease in EBIT from 10,000 to 6,000 rupees resulted in 81.25% decrease in EPS from 3.2 to 0.6. Okay, so a small change in EBIT has resulted in a far bigger change in EPS. This is what exactly we call it a magnifying effect. Then, okay, so though now we can understand that in this case financial leverage exists, okay, but we have not yet measured it. So in order to measure financial leverage, so the alternate definition what we have used, degree of financial leverage we have to find out. So in the first equation, percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBIT. The percentage change in EPS, earning per share, was 81.25%, and the percentage change in EBIT was 40%. So is equal to 2.03. So case 1 is favorable. Okay, case 1 is favorable as there is an increase in EBIT. The EPIS also has increased. Case 2 is unfavorable because there is a decline in EPS. Okay, so formula is percentage change in EPS, which is minus 81.25% divided by percentage change in EBIT minus 40%. Okay, so this minus is only indicative, please remember, so that students can learn that there is a negative, there is a decrease. It indicates just decrease, that's it. So the result will be same 2.03. So in case 2, it is unfavorable because the earnings were not adequate enough. Then there is the alternate equation also, if you can recall. If so, EBIT at base level, okay, EBIT at base level, which was 10,000 rupees. So we can check here, EBIT at base level. The equation was EBIT divided by EBIT minus I minus DP divided by into bracket 1 minus T. Okay. So EBIT at base level is 10,000 rupees divided by EBIT again 10,000 minus I was interest on bonds. Okay, 2,000 rupees it was minus DP dividend on preference shares was 2,000 rupee again divided by into bracket 1 minus small t. Small t is tax rate 35% converted into decimals 0.35 bracket complete. So once you simplify, the answer will be 2.03. So remember while solving, simplifying, okay, first you need to solve this 1 minus 0.35. It will be 0.65. So then you have to 2000 divided by 0.65. Got it? So this is how you should go ahead simplifying. So degree of financial leverage is 2.03 in the illustration or example. So let us analyze it. High fixed financial costs increase financial leverage and thus financial risk. Sorry, it is the THUS, thus. High fixed financial costs increase financial leverage and thus financial risk. Financial risk refers to the risk of the firm not being able to cover its fixed financial cost, means unable to pay interest on debt capital or unable to pay preference dividend. With the increase in financial charges, the firm also required to raise the level of EBIT. So the level of EBIT can be raised only by way of increasing sales revenues. If the firm cannot cover its fixed financial payments, it can be technically forced into liquidation. See, when a company is unable to repay the interest on loan, okay, so it will be liquidated. To devise an appropriate capital structure, the amount of EBIT under various financing plans should be related to EPS. So one widely used means of examining the effect of leverage is to analyze the relationship between EBIT and EPS. Hence, there is the analysis called as the EBIT EPS analysis. Okay, but actually in the sequence that comes first. But I will go ahead with the combined leverage, third type of leverage, small part. Then I will go ahead with this EBIT and EPS analysis, where a manager evaluates alternative financing plans where debt is used in a different proportion in each financial plan. Then we find out EPS under each plan and we choose the one where the EPS is maximum so that the wealth maximization objective of shareholders is adhered. Okay, so I will stop the class for today here. In my next class, we are going to learn, okay, what is combined leverage. Okay, okay, I think I'll finish combined leverage here only. Okay, so it's not okay very big. So after which I'm going to ask any doubts if you have. Okay, so once we complete financial leverage, the third type of leverage is combined leverage. Okay, so we call it degree of combined leverage. Okay, so I'll make a new share 1 minute. Okay, combined leverage, or which is called as total risk. So we learned how to calculate operating leverage. We learned how to calculate financial leverage, but now the investors are looking at the total risk of the firm. So which we get by combining operating leverage and financial leverage. So which is called as combined leverage or total risk, third type of leverage. The operating leverage has its effects on the operating risk, and it is measured by the percentage change in EBIT due to percentage change in sales. The financial leverage has its effect on financial risk, and it is measured by the percentage change in EPS due to percentage change in EBIT. Just now we illustrated that. Since both these leverages are closely concerned with ascertaining the ability to recover, since both these leverages are closely concerned with ascertaining the ability to cover fixed charges, if they are combined, the result is total leverage, and total risk associated with combined leverage is known as the total risk. So how we obtain combined leverage? Okay, how we measure it by degree of combined leverage is equal to degree of operating leverage multiplied by degree of financial leverage. And when we substitute the values of DOL, degree of operating leverage, and degree of financial leverage, so degree of combined leverage is equal to DOL formula, percentage change in EBIT divided by percentage change in sales, multiplied by equation of DFL, percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBIT. So these common and get cancelled. Percentage change in EBIT here and percentage change in EBIT here gets cancelled. So what remains is therefore DCL is equal to percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in sales. So I can calculate the degree of combined leverage with this equation also, or simply if DOL and DFL data is available, you multiply. Okay, simply multiply degree of operating leverage into degree of financial leverage, and the product you get is degree of combined leverage. Okay, so again DCL is equal to alternate equations, contribution divided by EBIT into EBIT divided by EBIT minus I. So this is associated with degree of operating leverage, this is associated with degree of financial leverage. So EBIT in common gets cancelled, so what remains is contribution divided by EBIT minus I. So this is the alternate equation by which you can measure degree of combined leverage. Thus, degree of combined leverage measures the percentage change in earning per share due to the percentage change in sales. Okay. So this numerical, I will go ahead with the PDF file. So now we have a simple example here. If the degree of operating leverage DOL of a firm is 6 and its financial leverage is a 2.5, means degree of financial leverage is 2.5, the combined leverage of this company would be simply multiply DCL is equal to DOL into DFL. So DOL is 6 into DFL is 2.5 is equal to 15. So DCL, degree of combined leverage, is 15. So it is as simple. Okay, it is as simple. So what does it mean when we say degree of combined leverage of the firm is 15? Okay, or the total leverage of the firm is 15. What does it mean? 1% change in sales would bring about 15% change in earning per share in the direction of the change in sales. Means if the sales are increasing, 1% change in sales would result in 15% increase in earning per share. And if the sales are declined by 1%, the earning per share will decline by 15%. The combined leverage works in either direction, the way I explained. It is favorable if the sales increase and unfavorable when the sales decrease. Okay, so that's the end of three types of leverages: degree of operating leverage, degree of financial leverage, and degree of combined leverage. Okay, So if you have any questions, please ask. In next class, we are going to solve numericals, including EBIT, EPS analysis. Yes, any questions? Any questions from students? Okay, Ashwini, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Prasad, any questions? Okay. Suchitra, any questions? Yes, Suchitra. Okay, so it looks like there are no questions. So I hope you have downloaded the resources shared through Google Classroom yesterday. Okay, the PowerPoint slides, the notes for theory, and the solutions to numericals. Okay, for chapter 18. So then I thank you one and all for your active participation in today's class. See you tomorrow again at 10 o'clock with additional problems on chapter 18. Good day to all of you.